Welcome to the Mindful Garden. Nothing. Let's get into this one. We'll start out with our 3 deep breaths, center ourselves, get ourselves in a good place for a conversation. And you just breathe in and out deeply, fully inhaling, taking the air all the way in, feeling as if it's going right into you, and fully exhaling, as if you're taking every bit of air out of you. Fully inhaling, and fully exhaling. And it definitely does center you down, get you thinking. Brings your heart rate down, brings your oxygen levels up, of course, because you're really oxygenating the blood when you're breathing that deeply and you're taking a good deep breath in, hopefully from clean, reasonably clean air. My air is pretty clean. I got lots of house plants in the house, so the air in the house is usually fairly nice, actually. It's a good night. Had a nice walk home, and it was definitely very pleasant, even though it was cold and brisk. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about nothing, because that's basically what got me thinking about it. Was like I really didn't have anything to talk about, but I didn't do a video last night, and I want to do it every other day or so. I'm trying to keep up on them. But something about nothing. When you go really into it and you get down to the subatomic level, the space in between things actually kind of has a lot of something to it, even though there's nothing there. And what they call the Planck length, the minimum length that they can get between things, there's nothing, but apparently that space is, if measured, has like the potential for infinite energy for some reason. At least that's what I've heard. That could be just all BS or something, but who knows. It doesn't surprise me though, because when you think about it, the quantum physics is definitely a very strange thing. And when you get into the quantum fields and stuff like that, like, it gets interesting, that's for sure. But like, nothing has something to it. Like, even if you look at space, we look at the vastness of space, and even in all that black out there, there's actually a lot of matter floating around. It's just not illuminated at all. You just can't see it, and it's just not visible. So there's a lot of something to nothing there too as well. So there's a lot of nothing that we can't see. Does that make sense? But there's a lot to nothing in a way. And since I really don't have anything to talk about, let's talk about nothing. And the cat's bugging me a little bit, which is interesting. How you doing, buddy? You after my rocks? Get out of there. He likes to play with the crystals and stuff, which is interesting. But anyway, nothing is a very interesting thing to me because of, like I say, when you get down to the space between atoms and space between molecular parts, like even the subatomic molecule, like protons, neutrons, and electrons, there's space in between them, and in that space there's nothing, but there's something to that nothing, which is an amazing thing, and which is where a lot of that atomic energy seems to come from when you split away the protons and neutrons and split the atom. You create a lot of energy breaking it up. Of course, you create a lot of energy fusing them together too, which is an interesting thing because we're actually bridging that nothing that for some reason nothing ever really touches, which is very cool. But then under the extreme heat, which they can do in a fusion reactor, which China just lit one up that has been a test bed for the design for making an actual fusion reactor. But they actually ran one for a long enough time to get the temperatures that they needed to create fusion, which is a very interesting thing. Which means it's actually hotter than our sun because our sun uses its gravitational pressure to create fusion instead of just using heat, which is what we're doing on the Earth. So we're actually creating an artificial sun, but kind of a fake one in a way, in what I think they do it in plasma or whatever. It's very cool. If you ever get a chance, just look up all that kind of stuff. It's always just an interesting dive. It's very boring articles, but the pictures are cool. And then when you get the good interviews with good scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson and stuff like that, you get good interviews, and you have good people that can relate it. Definitely read any Stephen Hawking if you can. It's all very good. But like I say, like when you talk about nothing, not like there's something to nothing, and like there's something to nothing, like even just when you take nothing for yourself. Like think about it this way: if you take time to do nothing and just contemplate, you actually end up being more productive in the end. If you take time to self-reflect daily and meditate and do that, you actually have a more productive day. So the time for nothing, making time for nothing, actually rewards you in a way. This is an interesting philosophy here. This interesting little thing to go down. A little bit of nothing can go a long way. So there's always something to nothing. And we can't help but see that. Like, when you look at a black hole, it looks like nothing. And it's at the center of our galaxy. It is the engine of our galaxy, is a giant black hole, which we are now just getting images of, which are very cool. Which are, the first ones were kind of fuzzy and stuff, but it's very cool. It's kind of got a halo like they predicted. It kind of looks like they did in Interstellar. It's kind of cool. But like, if you think about it, if that means there's a black hole, but does that mean that there's a different size black hole at the center of all things that have, say, like a self-generating magnetic field, like the Earth, say, it has a singularity at the center of it that drives its magnetic field? Or is it just driven by the lunar activity and the molten activity and the spinning of the core, like as they predict? Or is there more to it? Like, is there more to our sun? Does our sun actually, like, in a different state, have a black hole at it? Like, because our sun is too small to turn into a black hole, from what I understand of astrophysics, because it's actually a pretty small sun. So it should just kind of burn out and turn is it, I think, a neutron star? I can't remember. It's hard to remember all this stuff. It's a lot of reading. And then you got to remember it. But anyway, so like stars evolve and change because they digest the matter that's coming around them, I would assume. Like I would assume that the sun will verily expand and grow and swallow up what it has around it, and as it goes into different parts of the universe, gather more material and turn into a different kind of star. Like it's gotta be like that. It's like I figure everything would just grow or collide and change. Of course, that could be cool. That'd be interesting. Like black holes, like that. Hey, there's something where nothing makes a whole lot of something. Two black holes colliding, which are, like I say, look like a whole lot of nothing, but they make waves, which are gravitational waves that we can now measure using this great big gravitational wave device that they have. And that's neat stuff because I think that gravitational waves are actually part of what forms reality. And if we learn how to create gravitational waves for ourselves, we'll actually be able to manifest reality, I think. Because if you think about it, if there's gravitational waves that come on the interstellar scale where we can measure the great big ones, right? What if there's high pitched, high frequency gravitational waves that create pockets of gravity holes, singularities that hold things together? Which is like, what is the vibrational frequencies that create the universe, right? So that's where we're talking about nothing creating something through vibration. Through vibration of what? Through that ether of nothing? So something that we can't sense, that we can't feel, has a whole lot of something to do with reality, and yet we don't really understand it yet. So this is where, like, they're talking in CERN, like they're talking about connecting to another reality. Actually, I think they're talking about something like that, or connecting to another dimension. I think they were talking about doing that with the CERN super collider. I can't remember, or something. It was an article I read is Scientific American or something like that. I try and get from more trusted magazines and stuff like that than just straight Facebook posts, because straight Facebook posts can be quite misleading because people really like to use that Photoshop a lot and alter things and try and deceive you. And that's one thing to pay attention to is there's a lot of that going on, that's for sure. There's a whole lot of nothing going on in there where people are selling you nothing, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked about that, but like we're talking about nothing, like nothing is an amazing thing. Like the fact that we can't actually touch, like nothing actually touches, as even though the sense of touch and everything that we have, like I can feel this table, I can feel my chair, I can feel my fingers, sort of, but like in reality, when you go down to the molecular level, nothing actually touches because of all of the forces of the nuclear forces that hold everything together. Nothing actually ever really touches. It's all just mixing energies, really. Like that's when you think about it. Like our solid matter is just a representation of something that we carry in our mind. So we feel it as solid matter because it's so ingrained in our creation of reality that in our mind, in our perception, because we are technically a time traveler, if you think about it, we are what travels through moments of reality. We are timekeepers ourselves. So in that slipping of time, we manifest reality and hold it by holding our body parts, and what we hold is what is solid in our mind. If I go away and disappear, everything in this room has a remembering of me that will make it last for as long as this room remembers me. Does that make sense? But anyway, like our energy and everything swirls around through everything and never really touches. It's just all swirling and transferring and everything. It's like what we see as solid is not actually solid. It's all just moving. So like if you could perceive reality, instead of reality being nothing, nothing being a complete solid, and every moment being a subsection of that solid having energy waves moving through it. And our perception can't perceive that solid, because if we did, we wouldn't see ourselves as moving. So we are not given the perception of that solid, because if we did, we would not be able to move. So that solid of reality, the nothingness that is around us, subsides for our energy moving through it. So it seems to us, but what's really happening is pockets of energy are moving from bits of this nothingness and carrying the information as it moves. So instead of me moving, right, my energy is moving through space-time and creating cataclysmic explosions and everything, and doing everything it does for creation as it moves. And it does it over and over again, every moment. Like every single moment is a cataclysm. If you think about it, there is no future and there is no past. There is only the present. There is only this moment right now, which is an eternity, but we only see it as time because of the way we perceive things. There's only time because we're on a planet that keeps time. If we were completely removed from this reality, there'd be no time to perceive at all. So if we exist, it must be because there is the perception of time, and that is what is solid, and we can't perceive it, so it becomes nothing. Does that make sense? That's the way I see it, at least. I think nothing is a whole lot of something because it is everything. And everything is, to me, solid, and we're just energy moving through a solid, and it just seems like nothing to us. And as we understand and grasp more of the physics and stuff, as the more the physicists and everything shred, disseminate, and destroy molecules and study the after effects, and the more we do that, the more we're going to find ways to change and shape space-time. And like I say, I think if we can create gravitational waves at a high frequency, I think that would actually be a way to generate things. I'm thinking, maybe. I think that's maybe what, like, if you think about it, like maybe the Earth is sending out gravitational waves constantly that create us. Does that make sense? I don't know. It might. I could be completely off basis. I would love to have a physicist sit and chat with me, because then they could be like, no, that's completely screwed up. You are completely wrong. That's what I need. I need Neil deGrasse Tyson or like Stephen Hawking. Too bad Stephen Hawking passed away. That sucks. He was like the first best cyborg, you know that? He's got a computer and he's a cyborg, technically. Like, technically he was a cyborg. He had a computer that was technically almost like part of him. It was kind of cool. That's the way I see it, at least. He was the first crude cyborg because it used like intuitive typing. How much did the computer actually type for Stephen Hawking when he was using his intuitive typing? Like, how much did the computer intuit Stephen Hawking's work? Does that make sense? That's not. I'm not completely dismissing the guy because like he's a genius, but like, how much did his computer help him? Like, that'd be kind of interesting. Did his computer help him? Maybe the computer helped him more than he knew. Maybe it did. Who knows? Maybe that would have been him not seeing God helping him because he was an atheist like I am, seeing the universe as a cold, desolate place that is just the after effect of the Big Bang, which the way I see it is what people God did. And that's it. Said, went, hey, there's light. Wow, how'd I do that? Okay, humans are figuring it out now. Sweet, they're working on it. But anyway, I'm getting off base there. And that's probably long enough for tonight. Maybe he taught the computer. Maybe, well, like, I think the programmers and everything worked with him for quite some time developing that, and a lot of that technology came from the work with him and other people who were using that kind of technology at the time. And that's where a lot of that intuitive typing that we use today comes from. And like all that information was used to create, because now that's just done with AI. I think it's starting to get, I can't remember how it's done now, but it, like the new technology is getting out there. It's going to be mind blowing. I think the potential for what we can create is getting kind of out there. And like I say, like now that we understand gravitational waves, and the way I see it, because since like black holes can actually create gravitational waves big enough for us to detect, and that's making them big ones, right? And that's the way I like to look at it. Like there's gotta be, usually when there's big ones, there's usually little ones, just like in the ocean. Like when you look at the ocean, there's waves, but there's also like ultrasonic waves of the dolphins and everything all piercing through the ocean, and there's sound waves all coming through, pinging through the water and everything like that. Same with the air. There's lots of waves bumping around in the air that we can't see, but we feel the big pushes of the wind, the waves of the wind and stuff like that. So when we talk about the gravitational waves, it's very interesting to me, and the research into that's going to be very interesting. And like I say, ultrasonic gravitational waves, I think, I think that's what creates reality. Like if a gravitate, like what's the kind of gravitational waves does a black hole give off on its own when it's not creating great big rippling ones by colliding to another black hole, like when it's really ripping and shredding space-time, like when it's harmonizing space-time, what kind of gravitational waves can it give off? Like, can our new sensors pick up that, or can we have to develop new ones? Like that's, oh. Anyway, it's been a great night. Let's close out with a prayer. Let's open up people's minds tonight, and hearts, because I can't help. We got to open up people's hearts. I like a little bit of a prayer for the people in the United States right now. Please don't lose your heads. If any of you get it in your, no, I'm not even going to say it. Just keep your heads. You're all brothers and sisters. We're all residing on one world. Don't go and blow it all up trying to be the biggest dick. I'm sorry. That's just the way I see it. If you want to be the big dick, yeah. Don't be the big dick. Anyway, let's have a nice prayer for opening up people's hearts, especially down south right now. Please just open up your hearts and see people for them being your brothers and sisters. Open up hearts and minds, yes. You guys have a good night. A little rambling tonight, but you guys have a good one. Thank you for coming out. Peace.